Good morning, afternoon, and evening, depending on the time you've tuned in. But no matter the time your clock says, what's the real time?
Girl, it's time to get up.
Welcome to our podcast. It's me, Jocelyn Tarver, the one Jesus loves.
And it's me, Deshay, a G for the Lord. And of course, you know this already. If you haven't already tuned in before with our previous episodes, go and take a look back at them. We're on Spotify and on YouTube.
You can
Right?
check us out on TikTok too.
Oh, we on TikTok too. So hit us up.
We're trying to get on all the platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the premise of the podcast is
Yeah.
John 5.
Yes, the premise of our podcast is based off of John 5, verses 8 through 9, where we're talking about Jesus who asked the man at the well to get up. Do you want to get up? Pick
Yeah.
up your mat and walk. And so this podcast is just really here to help us all identify the mats that we are all on.
All on.
Because we all have issues, but to help us identify them and help you too. And we pick up our mat and walk together.
Yeah. Well, today's topic, what are we talking about?
Girl, come on.
Girl, come on.
Girl, come on.
Come on. All the excuses that people make as to why they can't come to Christ. So that's what this episode is about,
Yeah.
primarily, but also we'll get into it. But I just think about like how when I invite women out to church, like the excuses that they give, and like one of them being, I have no church clothes, as if Jesus cares if we have on what thrift store shoes or red bottoms. Like
Right.
he can care less. But I also think that what happens is the church does a bad job of making people feel less
Not
than.
unwanted.
Yeah,
And
like it's a fashion show.
yeah.
Like so they have to have on church clothes. Like if I go to Ross right now, there's no section that say church clothes. So it's like
Sunday's
what
best.
Exactly.
Right.
And people feel like if they don't look like certain things, have the mom church hat on and stuff, like they don't have the
If they
right
don't have the
attire.
appearance, then they're not invited.
Yeah.
Right.
And what are some of the
I mean, I don't get how do I look. I get I'm too busy. I get not right now. I get right now. That's not a priority of mine, and so I think there's just a lack of desire and desperation for Christ. He's not a priority
Yeah.
on a lot of our lists.
Yeah.
And so that's what I get. I get a not right now, or I got something else that I got to do. My baby is sick. I got to take care of my mother. I got a job. Oh, I'm in school right now. But God isn't the center of all of those activities, or they don't see the desperate need that they need for Him in those activities.
Yeah. You just made me think of the scripture, the passage where it talks about like inviting people and they have all
Sending
these
out the
different
wedding invite.
excuses.
I
Yeah.
gotta girl, I was sharing my faith one time with a gentleman. He was like, oh, I got a wedding banquet that I gotta go to. I said, right, and this is the invitation.
The right one, yeah.
Right. So it's definitely nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
People genuinely think that the problem is we think we have time. The problem is we think that we got the strength in which that we are equipped in ourselves to do it on our own,
Yeah, that
as
part.
opposed to really understanding our desperate need for Christ.
Yeah. People, I was driving here today and I was just thinking of like all the cars around me on the freeway. And as I'm talking to God and just like looking around, I'm like, God, everyone is just in a rush to get somewhere, and they're doing it in their own might, own strength. They don't need anyone, don't need anything, and I'm just like, God, please help us all, every day to see our need for you.
Right.
But one of the things too that really gets me when I invite women out or to study the Bible or whatever, they say, God is still working on me, as if they need to be a certain way before they come to Christ.
Into Christ. Yes.
They feel like they have to have it all together. And
As opposed to knowing that He's the one who's going to really get you
Get you
together,
together.
right?
Yeah,
Girl,
yeah.
you might as well come on because you toe up anyways. I was toe up as well as I thought I was off. Girl, toe up. I got a sister right now who thought when I first started coming to church, she was like, when you and your husband started coming to church, you was looking real prim. Your hair was done all the time. Your outfits was always in place. But little did she know we was just married 6 months, and I was like, how can I get out of this? I was broken. I was sad. I was like depressed because I genuinely knew that I needed Christ, but at that time and moment, I put Him on the back burner in my life. And so, girl, don't let the smooth taste fool you. because we all a mess.
All
And
of us, yeah.
if we give that mess and trust God with that mess, we'll definitely come out of the spaces that we're in. There's no need to wait. But let's look at a couple of people where they were desperate for Christ.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we gonna pick up at?
We're
over in
I'm
Mark.
here, Mark 5.
Mark 5. Mark 5, starting in verse 21. Turn with us over. We're already there. Meet us when you get there. We're in verse 21, and it reads, When Jesus had again crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He pleaded earnestly to him, My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she may be healed and live. Jesus went with him. Jairus, right? Jairus, a synagogue leader.
Yeah.
Some versions say a ruler, right? A ruler in the synagogues. And here's this man who hears about Jesus coming back from one of his many missionary trips, or just really going around the different regions in the area. And he's coming back from a Gentile area, right? And as he's coming back, he's docking the boat, and people again is hearing him. Just in the chapters before, like, they're swarming Jesus. Everywhere he's at, they're just like trying to touch him and get healed by him. And so what's ironic about this man is, just like how I was sharing earlier, some people feel like, I got this going on. I got too many priorities. This man was the Jewish synagogue leader, basically like the pastor of his time. He was responsible for a lot of the semantics that went on in the synagogues. And for some of us that may not know Mark well, just a couple of chapters before this, his colleagues, the Pharisees and Herodians, were plotting to get Jesus. Jesus was intending to save or to heal a man on the Sabbath, and they were like, you know what? Let's see what he gonna do, because if he heal him, we got to make some plans to take him out. And so it's crazy to me that this man, who is a man of position, a man who has status in his community, has a position where, shoot, your colleagues should be able to do the very things that you're going to Christ for. In fact, you're willing to risk your life, because just a minute ago, your colleagues was ready to kill Jesus. Is at such a desperate place because of the state that his daughter is in, that he's just fallen at Jesus's feet. And I think that sometimes, unfortunately, that's a situation for a lot of us. We got to be in a place where we like, Lord, just if you save me now, I'll do, or I'll come. And so this man here, with all that was going on in his life, had to come to Jesus because he was the only one that could rectify the situation. He knew that Jesus could rectify the situation.
The moment of desperation, I just even think about in this same chapter at the beginning of it with the demon possessed man. Like, we're not hitting on him in this episode, but just how he comes to Jesus and falls at his knees. It's like, when you know Christ, when you know Jesus, like, you come to him in a respectful way, a surrendered way, knowing that he is the only one that could help, you know. But let's keep going in verse 25. I'll pick up with the woman, bringing her onto the scene. And it says, a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body she was freed from her suffering. At once Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, Who touched my clothes? You see these people crowding against you. His disciples answered, And yet you ask, Who touched me? But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. And this is really awesome, because we love commentary. Reading the commentary, it talks about how in Jewish culture, because of her bleeding, she was considered unclean. Therefore, whatever she touched, she made unclean, whether it was a person, a couch, anything that was unclean. but she was tired, and she didn't care. It says that she spent all of her money on all these different doctors. And this woman here, she had the audacity to push through the crowds. She knew if she touched anybody, like if Jesus is in the center of this crowd, we don't know what the setup looks like,
Right.
but she had to get through people to get to the
bobbing
hem
and
of it.
weaving.
She had to touch. She didn't care.
She
She's
didn't
like,
care. You know what she was like, you know what, look, I've been unceremonially clean for 12 years. Y'all go get this. What time is it? It's 2:30. Shoot, it's daylight savings time, baby. You got to the evening. You just gonna be unclean until the evening, baby. You can get this because 12 years. 12 years. Yeah, this baby was tired. She was probably weak. I think about what's so awesome about this is both of these individuals, both Jairus and this woman, thinks if you can just come and touch me, if I could just come in, the touching or coming in close proximity, taking hold of Christ. I think of we talked about this particular passage a couple of episodes ago from Acts 17, where it says, if you come and seek me and find me and reach out for me, you will, you'll find me, basically. Or and it shows just how, like, if we desire to be with Christ, we will receive what it is that we're looking for with him.
Yeah.
And they both felt like, if it's just a touch, just a little bit, I just need to put
a certain way.
Right.
Yeah.
It had to be full of faith.
Yeah.
That touch had to be full of faith.
Yeah. But she didn't, like I said, she didn't care. She just wanted to reach him in hopes of getting healed, right? And it's like, I think about like how we have to push through the crowds. Also, we have to push through the crowds of our minds. Push through. She had to encourage herself along the way. If I may but touch, if I may but touch the hem of his garment. Like David had to encourage himself, right? And I think about like how before I came to Christ, I had to push through the crowds. Like at the time, what was this, like almost 19 years ago, my beginning story of desperation. I was pregnant, in love, depressed, sad, lonely, because my boyfriend at the time, he no longer wanted to be with me. So it was a lot that I went through, but in that I had to push through the crowds of my mind, because what comes after depression, so I had to push. And my little bit of faith led me to the church on the corner, and I just think about today, like we have to push through the crowds of our mind, push through our friendships and being set apart, push through the idea of what our lives are supposed to look like. We think that it should look like this, and we have to push through different lifestyles, to get to Christ, because ultimately he's the only one that can heal us.
Yeah. I mean, I love just how she's at the end of her rope, right? It's like a now or never kind of thing. I love how she took advantage of the opportunity that was before her. It wasn't I'll try this again later. He always around. He'll be back. He had just gotten back from across the lake. I feel like this woman was like, this is a now or never. I'm tired. I'm near death. I'm ostracized. This is it, and I feel like a lot of times when we do come to Christ, that's the place and status we got to get to. We got to get dang near death to feel like, okay, now I can try Jesus. You were saying that she tried all these doctors, what does these doctors look like now? I know for myself, mine was, my doctor was Dr. Mary J. My doctor can even still to this day sometimes can be, how do I numb out? How can I stick my head in the sand and just like ignore everything? I love a book. I listen to a book all day long, or I'll take a good old nap. That's what my doctors look like. And what I've come to realize is that these doctors, for me, they definitely can't do as much as what Christ has done for this woman, and just a mere faith that she had to take before him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I appreciate Dr. such and such. Like there's Dr. all of these different things. And I think about, like, to your point, my doctors. I did doctor relationship, thinking that if I, in the hard times of my marriage at the time, the lowest points is where I found myself going to, let's say Dr. Self-help of going to dating sites while I was married. Because my marriage was in a bad space, I would go to the dating sites to get validation from men and to feel good, like just conversation, things like that. I felt like I was lacking in marriage, right? Doctor religion. I would go to church, prior to knowing the truth fully. I would go to church just to see what I can get from Christ. What can I get from God?
Can I get
what
that feel good feeling to go out through the rest of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that quick medicine.
Yes,
that dime attack.
Yes. Yeah. And just even thinking back to the woman, like, by law, she was like excommunicated. We don't know if she had a husband, kids, family, but even if she did, she had to be secluded away from them, right? And just thinking about like how she needed to be healed physically, she probably was going through it emotionally, mentally being alone, so I can understand her trying all these different doctors. And we get to these low places in life trying to go to dating sites and stuff because we feel like we need the help, but
we feel like we need to help.
Yeah,
what can I do to fix it?
Yeah, we have no answers. We have no answers.
I think that this verse just really speaks to the fact that no matter what your doctor is, especially here on earth, no one beats the ultimate physician, which is Christ, you know?
Yeah, so true. The desperate faith of this woman, this is really cool because there was no evidence back then that said, there was no law, no scripture that said, if you touch the hem of his garment, you're going to be healed. And what's really cool about this woman is she is the example of the definition of faith. When you think about Hebrews 11:1, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of what's not seen. She told herself, she saw it. She said, if I touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. That was the evidence of like her faith. So she said, if I touch it, I will be healed. And I just thought that was just crazy how she
made up her own way of getting her.
And in her superstition, Jesus met her where she was at.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, like I didn't see that until like as of recent. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That
I didn't even think about
11:1.
that. Yeah.
And that's what he wants us to do today.
That's the kind of faith he wants us to have, right? Without a shadow of a doubt that at the end of the day, Jesus will, and he's willing.
Yes.
I think what's so amazing about this woman is she felt like she had to hide, though. I mean, in that superstition, in that true belief, she did it with the sneak of it all. She's like, I'm going to weasel my way through here and I'm going to steal basically this healing. I think she was surprised.
I can see that.
But I mean, in her stealthiness, God still rewarded her. In her shrewdness, because that's what she was. She was shrewd. I'm gonna get this blessing.
With you even saying you think that she was surprised, like I even think about a prayer that I prayed a while back, and it wasn't even like a deep, like heartfelt prayer. It was just me talking to God, and for him to do it, I was surprised. I was like, "You really did it." And one, it showed me that he heard me, but two, it also showed that I had a lack of faith. Because although I prayed it, I didn't. You really did it though. Like, it's mind blowing what it was, Not that I don't want to share, but just to keep the conversation going. God will totally meet you where you're at.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the same thing for both of them. Even with Jairus, you think about the centurion, right? The centurion didn't need Jesus to come. Jairus is like, I need you to come so you can heal and save my daughter so that she can live. The centurion was like, you know what? I'm a commander of troops. I know I don't have to go. If I say do this, if I say just send the word, and I know that my servant will be healed.
Yeah.
And see, that was the faith that excited Jesus, and he's like, in all of Israel, I have not seen any faith like this, but even with this woman's faith and with Jairus's faith, that, okay, even if I just try, or I get to Jesus, he can fix these things for me. But even though, these people's faith was great and exceeded a lot of our own, there's even still the example of the centurion, who Jesus don't have to be there for
Yeah.
it to happen. But
Yeah.
that's not like God. Jesus was like, you know what? You don't even have the faith of the centurion. You ain't got. He met them where they were at.
Yeah.
He gave them what they needed with the faith that they came with, and that's the same thing with a lot of us. I mean, you feel, what is it behind the I don't have the shoes, or I don't have the outfit, or I don't have the this, or I'm not in a place where I think that I'm ready yet? That's really the issue, because
Yeah.
a lot of times that's just a surfacey, cursory explanation as to why you don't feel like God, you're worthy enough
Yeah.
for God's blessings, for his healing, for his salvation. I think about the fact that God, when he's talking about these things, is called sozo. Like the healing here is sozo, and it's not just a healing that God is willing to give us, but it's the salvation as well.
Yeah.
What's keeping us from being willing to have Jesus's sozo?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what is it really? And I think that's just something all of us got to ask ourselves. I know for myself, it can be that sometimes I just love what I'm doing. I like the I don't even want to say it's comfort, because in the back of my mind, and sometimes before I can even open my eyes in the morning, there's an anxiety if these things are not being done or looked at and taken care of. Why am I so quick to want to turn a blind eye to whatever I know that if I bring to God and I just walk through it with him, at the end, I will have that sozo. I will have that healing. I will maintain my salvation.
Yeah. Yeah, maintaining your healing. And yeah, I think that's great, because even with the woman, what's also really cool is that it says that she felt in her body that she was healed. And it's like with her walking with Jesus, or so to speak, she's, touching the hem of his garment. She's connected, and being connected, walking with Christ, waking up, being with God and not with our anxious thoughts and stuff like that. Like there's we talked about it before, the peace, the peace that transcends all understanding. Like what used to bother you don't bother you no more. Like what was bothering this woman, she felt it. Like the change, the difference takes place in your life when you start to do things his way.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I think about how this woman, Jairus, came to Jesus in desperate need for him to save his daughter.
Yeah.
I think about how amazing that Jesus is in this moment. Jesus is taking the time to save his daughter.
Wow.
Jairus is like, I'm sure he's over there like, bruh, she done. She been healed, right?
I was here first.
I told her first. But not even Jairus in his emergency dictated Jesus's urgency.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, he needed to save his daughter too.
Yeah. I think about, there's been times where like I have felt some type of way when somebody has received something that I've been praying for. And that can be a factor today. Like, I was doing this longer than this person. Like, how did they get it before me? That could be a real thing that happens today. But I just want to also go back to, like, to your point of her doing it secretly. Like, she already feels, all these she probably, let me not assume, she probably felt all these different type of ways about herself because she was unclean, right? And just thinking about, like, her doing it in secretly, if people knew that she was unclean trying to get to Jesus, let's say church folk, they would have looked down on her, made her, back then they yelled unclean. Like if they saw like someone with a leprosy or something, they would yell unclean. So everybody could know, back away, that person, we see you, so go the other way. And had that happened to her, she wouldn't have gotten to the hem of his garment, because everybody would have made it obvious. And I just think about church folk today and how they could look down on people because of the current state that they're in. We're supposed to come as we are. And funny story, I used to think that come as you are was like you could wear pajamas to church or something. But no, he's like, come as you are. You don't need to be put together. You don't need to have all of these things, church clothes and all of that. Just come,
just come.
And it makes me also think about like how when Jesus was at Matthew the tax collector's house, and the Pharisees was like, your teacher eat with sinners and tax collectors. And Jesus is like, I came for them.
Yeah.
I didn't come for y'all who think y'all got it
all
together.
together.
I came for them. So I'm grateful that I'm grateful that Jesus is not like church folk.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that Jesus came for the sinners.
Yeah.
For the broken, for the lost, for the depressed.
Yeah.
For the unclean.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Yeah, baby, you ain't got to take a bath before you come. We gonna dunk you if you really want to. We'll baptize you. You get a bath. Nah, I'm just.
And here, Jesus points out to the woman, like, he called her out. You know how he's like, who touched me? He wasn't doing it to, like, embarrass her or anything. He wanted her to know, like, I see you. Like, you coming to sneak up behind me, but I see you. And it's not the act. It's not the showing up that healed you, but it's your faith that healed you. But what's also cool here is that he called her daughter. To your point, Jesus is trying to heal his daughter. He's giving her a new identity.
Yeah.
Because at first, 12 years, she's unclean. Nobody could be around her. And it's like, I invite you in. You're a part of me now, you know? And I just thought that was really cool. And today, a lot of people, and just like myself, once upon a time, lonely, feeling like you're the only person going through this. But now with Christ, there's a sense of belonging, community.
Yeah, yeah. No, for real. I think also about just, to your point of, it wasn't to call her out to embarrass her.
Yeah.
But it was so that he could be glorified. I think when we come to Christ and we allow Jesus to make his changes in our lives, it's not just for our healing. It's for the Jairuses of the world that'll see someone's hand be healed. It's for this woman that of the world where someone will see this woman be healed and change. You were talking about coming in contact, of how you know that you've come in contact. You've stopped your bleeding. You've stopped your sinful living, or there's a change that is noticeable. And so it's not just so that he didn't stop just to speak to this woman to put her on Front Street, but it was to bring glory to his Father, to bring glory to who he was. This is who I am, and this is what I can do, and this I want to do it for you all. I think about the fact that just the contrast between Jairus and this woman, like you were saying, she's unclean, she's without identity, she's overlooked, she's all of these grievances that she has, and this man has all of this status. Jesus had no respecter of either one of them. He came for them both. Because of their willingness to trust that he was the answer for them. And so even with us feeling like another thing I hear from people is, I'm good, but if I look at your lifestyle, does the fruit reflect what kind of fruit is identifying your tree? Is the fruit that you produce, and you might go to Bishop's church, but if you living with your boyfriend, you doing these things, you're living a life that is not conducive to the fact that you've actually been changed by God, then there's like, where's the proof? The proof is in the pudding. It's a scripture that talks about, I think it's in John. Is it John or is it Timothy? I always get them mixed up, but where it talks about persevering in them. Is it Timothy? Yes, Timothy. Persevering in them so that
you can save yourself.
You'll save yourself and you'll save your hearers, and so we have to be very intentional about, once we come into contact with Christ, is what he's done in my life glorifying him? Can it be put on Front Street? Could it be put out there that what God has done in my life for me? And will it, at the end of the day, will your life thereafter glorify him?
I think that's really incredible, because as you were talking, you made me think of when Jesus was healing one of the men who had the shriveled hand, the leprosy, and like he heard the whispers of, like, I think the Pharisees, teachers of the law, and like trying to like basically call him out, like, he can't do this. This is blasphemy. Like Jesus told the man, he's like, come around here in front of everybody.
Come right here.
Let even them who whispering see
let
what
me
I'm about to do.
Let me do it in the light.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I don't want to even say like Jesus had the heart to shame them, but to your point of helping them grow in their faith. Yeah. And let's just hit on the disciples real quick. Like the disciples. So it says, Where is it at? I just thought it was funny.
Read it over.
Where
again.
is it? What verse? Help me find the verse.
It says, okay, starting in 31. Well, let's start in 30. It says, at once Jesus realized that the power had gone out from him, and he turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched me? You see this people crowding against you. His disciples answered, and yet you ask, who touched me?
Like when people be saying the Bible is boring. I'm grateful for that show, The Chosen, like how they humanized, the disciples and stuff. Like, if I was the disciples in that situation, I would have.
What are you talking about?
Like, for real, Jesus, like all these people, and you got the nerve to ask who touched me. But it just goes to show, like, there's a lot of people, I think I said it in previous episodes, where there's a lot of people crowding around Jesus on Sundays. But it's only one who's going to walk away changed, who's going to walk away healed, who's going to walk away, living this new life. But I just thought that was really funny.
No, that is kind of funny to think about.
And revealing. And revealing.
Of even just what the disciples even know about God. Like, what are you talking about? Like, as opposed to being not like you see all these people around you, but oh yeah, well, who did do it? You know what I mean? About revealing just who they are and how much growth that just us as disciples can always use. You know. Let's pick it back up in Mark 5:35, and I'll continue reading. It says 35, it says, while Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. Your daughter is dead, they said. Why bother the teacher anymore? Overhearing what they said, Jesus told him, don't be afraid, just believe. He did not let anyone follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep. But they laughed at him. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, woo-wee, Talitha koum, don't kill me. But, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this and told them to give her something to eat. So we come into a close right here with Jairus, and as Jesus, you didn't already stop to talk to this woman. She was already healed. You didn't even need this. My baby.
Yeah.
Is at the tilt.
Yeah.
I need you to come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
But they come and they go, why bother the teacher anymore? Your daughter is dead. And I just love how Jesus just turns to him and say, just believe. Like, I know as a disciple now going on like 10 years, I've been doing this by myself. I'm married, been married 10 years. We actually made 10 years just recently. But my husband isn't my spiritual leader, and I am so grateful for the women that are in my life. I have a spiritual mentor. Her name is Sharon Kirshner. And I remember her coming up to me one day and she's like, are you still praying for your husband to be restored to Christ? Are you still praying that he's going to come and be able to lead you spiritually? And I can think in myself, like, my husband is not, it's been 10 years. I don't even want to think about it no more. I know with this woman who had been going through this for 12 years, she could have had the heart of like, you know what? What's the point? What's the use of continuously having this faith in God?
Yeah.
And I just love how Jesus turns to him and understanding that this could be something that changes his faith in the moment, to remind him to just believe. And so I'm really grateful for the women that's around me, because when I think about, you were just talking about the disciples, but what about this group of people that's outside the door wailing and looking at the situations for what they are and not seeing that they have the Messiah right before them that can change everything.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be careful who you surrounding yourself with. The woman had to go through the crowds, had to fight her ways through the crowds to get to Christ. What about those who's already in your inner circle, who already at the house?
Yeah.
You know, I think about just when we are studying the Bible with people and just how bad they go through the persecution of those who are closest to them, people that's at the house.
Yeah.
You can't allow all of those kind of whispers to, you know, get into your mind and change the promises that you already know that Christ can have for you on the other end, you know. And Jesus is just there to remind us to just believe, you know. Just come on still, you know, have that faith and continue to walk with him.
Yeah, no, that's really good that you pointed that out. Don't be afraid, just believe. I think too often, like, we could go to Christ, and I know for me, just going to him to heal something, to do something, to fix it, Jesus. But it's like, when he not gonna fix it, there's no point in bothering the teacher no more. Because I was only here for what you can do for me. I wasn't here to be called daughter. I wasn't here to be in relationship with you. And it's just revealing, you know, but I, you know, was one that went through that in the beginning stages of my walk. And I'm just really grateful for Jesus intervening, saying, don't listen, don't be afraid, just believe. And I even think about Job's situation, and how everything was taken from him, and his wife is sitting there saying, curse God and die. It be your own people.
It be your own people, girl. Shut up.
Right.
I'm already hanging on by a thread. Please stop. Yeah. But no, we definitely just have to really believe in God. And be persistent. I have to be reminded that Auntie Sharon told me, be like the persistent widow. You know, you were saying that how, you know, your prayer, you prayed and you did it without the even forethought that, you know, it would even come true. We have to go with the confidence that God is willing, and he will make these things happen for us. We got to be like Abraham, who knew just as well that his body was dead, his wife's womb was dead, to have an incredible faith that God is going to keep his promises to us, you know?
I have a few things on my impossible prayer list for this year, and I'm going to keep bothering the teacher.
Keep bothering.
But I did want to go back to verse 23 really quick. He said, Jairus, let me see, where is it? He said, he pleaded earnestly with him, my little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live. And I just think about, like, how Jairus, I think you had even mentioned it earlier, how he's assuming that Jesus had to be there for the healing to take place. And like, perhaps Jesus allowed his daughter to die so that Jairus could take Jesus out of the box. Like, you think I can only do it this way, but I want to expand your faith. I want you to be like this woman, you know, having the faith, the believing what is unseen, having the hope for what, you know, you're praying for.
I just think, in closing, right, it was these people's determination and perseverance. It was the woman's perseverance and determination to get to Christ to be healed. And it was Jairus's perseverance to have his daughter not only healed, but brought back to life. And it can be the same for all of us.
Yeah. It will only be the touch of Jesus that will heal you, because all these different doctors, it's just a waste, honestly.
Right. And so, girl, it's time to get off of these matter of excuses and just come to Jesus. He's willing to give you his grace and his new identity.
Yeah, he will call you daughter.
Right.
As well. So if you're interested in a personal Bible study or more information on this topic, please feel free to email us at doyouwanttogetwell8@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for weekly content, or whenever we put out content.
Right.
Be gracious to us as we're still figuring this thing out. But I think we're doing okay.
We're doing all right.
Yeah.
We're doing more than most.
Yeah.
Amen.
And please share with a friend. And stay tuned for the next episode. It is comparison.
It's comparison.
We'll be talking about comparison in the next episode, which is
coming sooner than later. So stay tuned, because there's more to see.